I'm Dr. Barry, licensed psychologist, and here we talk about true crime and psychology. Thank you so much for joining. Let's hop right into today's topic. Let's go. Welcome. And Sarah, it's weird. Some of your comments are on this video and not over on the other video. I don't know what happened. Because thank you for that super sticker, but I see that over here, and I don't know if that's just StreamYard. It could be something with StreamYard. But yes, I hope everybody made the jump over. If anybody decides to stick around and discuss this video too. So there is a case out of Newport News, Virginia, and this is a civil case. And if you want legal coverage of this, so I know Peter from the lawyer, he has done 2 or 3 videos covering some of the testimony in this case. He does like personal injury, like he does a lot of those types of cases. So I really respect his opinion and the things that he said about those cases. This is so the good thing is everybody lived. Okay. So everybody survived. But one day, I think it was back in let me get to my notes. So Abigail Zwerner was a first grade teacher at Richneck Elementary School in Newport News, Virginia. And I think the date of the incident was, I think it was January 6th. But I don't have, but it was about I think it was like 3 years ago. So it was 2025. I think that must have been 2021 maybe, but 2022. So we'll see. But while she was teaching in class, there was reports that one of the students might have a weapon. And that was reported to the assistant principal. And multiple staff throughout the day talked with the assistant principal about their concerns about this student. This first grader, he goes by the initials JT. He had a long history of behavior problems. I don't think all of the details are coming up in this trial, but it's my understanding in kindergarten, his first grade teacher was kneeling down, his kindergarten teacher was kneeling down, and he went around and she, so I don't know I can say the word this early in the video on YouTube, but he ended up getting kicked out for the rest of the school year. So I think he only attended 2 months of kindergarten, because that came up during an interview with his family. So his mother, and I have a link to the interview. I'm not going to play it. His mother was convicted of using a substance while having a weapon, and she was sentenced to 2 years in jail. It's my understanding that he's in the custody of his grandfather. Let me find my link. Oh no, did I lose? I had a beautiful link with all ready to go. Of course, it went away. All right, so I will find the link to that one later. But here we go. Yes. All right. Yes. Okay. I think I know which one it is now. Okay, let me share. And I do have a link to the interview if anybody wants to watch it down in the description. Because I wonder if it's just not showing up as a tab here. So weird, because I can see it on my one side. There we go. All right. So his mother is sitting in the middle, and then the child, 'cause I think this is might be his great grandfather, because I think this is her grandfather is sitting there. And it's my understanding that he has custody of the child, but they did an interview, and I'll just say the child said that the weapon was not secure. And because in that interview, the mother says that it was, and I don't know that was true. I'm saying that as nicely as I can, because he told teachers, he told staff, he said the night before he like stepped on a drawer and got the weapon out of his mother's purse. That's what he said he did. And the assistant principal is being sued personally. So Ebony Parker, Dr. Ebony Parker, was the assistant principal at that time. She also is facing criminal charges. So she likely is not going to testify in this trial because her criminal case has not happened yet. And the jury is not going to know that the jury is going so the jury doesn't know that there's a pending criminal case against Dr. Parker as well. Oh, wow. Somebody in the in-law lawyer you know's chat said the mom had taught him to use it in case her ex-DV partner showed up. Wow, that's super sad. That's super sad because he's a child that the school didn't even trust with scissors. Like, really. So I did want to play some of the testimony of the reading specialist. The reading specialist, she's a little fight, but like I thought her testimony was great. You can tell that she had a good relationship with Abigail Zwerner, and I did want to play some of her testimony. So let's watch some of this. So she was in the classroom. She was a reading specialist that worked closely with JT. And she's the one that got word that there might be a weapon in the classroom. Okay, so let's watch this.
And how were you working on that day?
So that day we had come back from Christmas break and the state of Virginia.
I think I have it sped up. Y'all know I don't listen to on normal speed. We'll try it at normal speed. She's a fast talker, so I will slow it down. Okay.
Has growth assessment tests, and right before Christmas we had taken the winter growth state test, and I was the proctor. We were making up students that hadn't taken it before.
So the person that's being sued is the administrator, because somebody said if there's a Fifth Amendment issue, why didn't they wait until the criminal case was over? So I don't know. I don't know if everybody just decide, because it might be worse for Dr. Parker if the criminal case was done. I don't know if that could come into the civil case. So I don't know if it's better for her to go before her criminal trial. Remember, I'm not a lawyer. That's a great question for Peter.
For Christmas, so that's what I was doing on that day.
Were you the only proctor that day for the testing?
I was the only proctor, but Laura Harris was the examiner, so we were together.
And do you recall how many students were testing that day?
So there were 3 groups. The first group was like some special ed students and 5th graders together. The second group was 4th, and then the last group was 3rd, and there was about no more than 10 per session.
Okay. And on that day, were you working closely with Dr. Parker while you were doing the testing?
Yes.
And can you tell the jury what did that look like? What was the responsibilities?
So the responsibilities, and again, I've been in a couple of other schools since that day. Usually the AP did the testing, which would have been like preparing the testing tickets, making sure they had accommodations if they had audio and needed headphones, having a testing box for each session, which had pencils, scrap paper, things like that. And then she would have had to start the testing session from her computer. So it really probably should have all been prepared ahead of time for the most part, because when Laura and myself would come in and sign off, the folders were ready.
So you were getting the folders that had already been prepared by Dr. Parker for testing?
Yes.
Okay. And just so the jury knows, what does AP stand for?
Assistant principal.
Thank you. And was there a time that you encountered JT that day on January 6th? And we're referring to the student as JT for purposes of today.
Okay. Yes.
Real quick, I'm going to interrupt this real quick. Karen made a great comment. Sometimes the civil claim before the criminal trial, it's a matter of judicial discretion. The courts generally operate on the principle that a complainant has the right to have their case heard without undue delay. Thank you for that, Karen. Okay, we're gonna keep it going.
As he was coming out of lunch, I was coming out of Dr. Parker's office because we had finished our second session, and I was heading down to my office to get ready to have lunch before we had to test again at 1 o'clock. And so as I was coming out, Abby and her class were coming from the cafeteria. I had stopped at the cross section where the bathroom is, and he saw me and he ran up to me to give me a hug. I had already been aware that he was having a difficult time at lunch.
And let me pause you right there. Can you tell me, how were you aware that he had had a difficult time at lunch?
Ms. Warner had come into Dr. Parker's office, and she spoke to her and told her that he had already threatened a kindergartner during lunch, and also was, I guess, being aggressive with the security officer. And I was in the office when we were turning back the tickets and seeing what time we had to test next.
All right. So I want to pause it real quick to mention that this 6-year-old, they originally had a plan that he was not supposed to be in the building unless his mother or his father was there with him. He was a major behavior concern. The mother in that interview said that he was doing better. He had tried a new medication and he was meeting his goals. And so that's why she said she wasn't there. So I don't know what's going to come out. And I don't know how deep they're going to go into that here. But he has a history of significant behavior issues. And the day of this incident, he was coming back from a 2-day suspension. And in that interview with the 6-year-old's mother, she tried to minimize it to say that he accidentally hit the phone out of Abby's hand and her screen protector broke. Abby says that he threw her phone down. And so I just wanted to mention that. I do wonder, so some kiddos that I've worked with like this, because in the mother's interview, which was why I wanted to mention it, she said that he had a diagnosis of ADHD. If I had met him and if I had heard some of the things that he was doing, I would also be assessing for early signs of conduct disorder as well, because there seems to be a disregard for rules and regulations and expectations. And I would also make sure that the parents are not using physical discipline. In my last video and in this video, I have some resources down in the description talking about, but when a child is being aggressive, an adult being aggressive with that child as a form of discipline can send a mixed message that, oh, when somebody does something you don't like, you get back at them. And so that's where I don't know what was happening in the home. I don't know what was happening with this child. I will say I used to work at a residential treatment center down in, I think it was in Norfolk, Virginia, which is across the bridge down there. And for my dissertation, I think it was Hampton City Schools. There was a program being run with aggressive children in Hampton City Schools. And throughout this trial, they're really going to minimize who would ever think a first grader would have a pew pew in their book bag. A lot of people are going to say that. I can tell you, so in Spotsylvania County, which is Fredericksburg, it's in the Fredericksburg area in Virginia, there was an elementary school student and a pew pew went off in the child's book bag in the middle of school. And of course, they had to lock down the school. They had to do all the things, and it was just but I don't know that the child even knew that it was in there. I think there was an investigation. I don't know what the results of that investigation were. They're trying to figure out why, all of those things. For our community, there was an incident over the weekend where a child told their parent that they had overheard another child at school say that they were going to bring something to school. And so immediately, administration at the school was contacted. Over the weekend, an officer was sent to that child's house. They investigated the situation. And by the end of that night, all parents at our school had an email notification that the threat had been assessed and things had been looked at. I also, when I was at Virginia Treatment Center for Children, I would go into Richmond City schools. Richmond is the capital of Virginia, and downtown schools. Some of them there can be a lot going on downtown, and they did have instances of kindergartners or first graders bringing like weapons to school, like, but it was at the home unsecured. And so that's where, if it was a Richmond school and if a teacher got a notification that something like that was happening, they probably would call the SRO, the police. School would go on lockdown. That is what is supposed to happen. And that did not happen in this situation. Okay. And so, Phoenix, I agree that if he was taught to use it for protection, then he may have learned to deal with, like, okay, if somebody is messing with you, like if somebody's against you. Because in the interview with the mother, it sounds like he thought she didn't like him, or I don't know, like it sounds like at times maybe they had a decent relationship, and then at times, but and so I hope the student has received a lot of supports. Let's get back into this testimony.
But just so the jury understands, who was in the office at that time when Abby came into the office?
Dr. Parker, myself, and Laura Harris, the special ed teacher.
Okay. Can you describe for the jury the interactions between Dr. Parker and Abby on that morning?
So that morning, while we were in there at that time, Abby came in and was standing there like waiting to be recognized. She never was recognized by Dr. Parker. She didn't look up. She didn't look at her.
When you say she, who are you referring to?
Dr. Parker.
Thank you.
Didn't look at her. Abby did say, about the threatening the kindergartner, and already, he was aggressive kind of with the security officer. And then she left because she had to pick up her kids, and it was like 11:45.
Can you tell the jury, state whether or not you know if Dr. Parker heard Abby, Miss Zwerner, that day?
Yeah, she heard. She told me I could tell her that she could call his mom at any time to come pick him up.
So if he was continuing to act out violent, I guess what did you take that as?
Well, I took it as like if she continued to have problems, then Abby could call the mom.
But she didn't tell Abby that, and you're referring to Miss Zwerner, correct?
Correct.
And she didn't tell her that?
She did not. I did.
So when you're going to tell Abby, you encounter JT.
Correct. He came up to me. He saw me. He was happy. He saw me, ran up to me, gave me a hug. I already knew that he was being, aggressive and, wild. And so I had told him, I'm like, hey, buddy, are you having a good day? And he was like, yeah. So, okay, well, make good choices, make Mrs. Kovac proud.
And then where do you go from there?
So from there, the rest of the class was walking down, so I just waited. And then I'm heading to my office. So Abby's room is the last room on the left. There were double doors, and then my office was straight ahead in the second grade wing. So I was heading down there to have lunch before I had to test again. And at that time, two little girls came out of Abby's room to the doorway while I was still in the hall and told me that JT had a gun in his bag.
So what did you do at that point?
So at that point, I was like, oh. I walked in and I went straight to him. I was focused straight on him. Abby was kind of coming in and getting the kids settled from, lunch and getting ready for the next activity. I went straight to him. He was in a desk by the windows on the left side of the room, and he was like balled up in his seat, and that is not normal for him. So I pulled up a chair next to him and I was like, hey buddy, what's going on? The girls tell me you have a gun in the bag. And I said, can I have that bag? Because typically he's throwing that bag, I carry that bag, we're in and out, his mom carries the bag sometimes. So it was sitting right next to him on this desk, and he's balled up. I said, okay, can I have the bag? And he said, no one is getting that bag. That was out of character for him. And he was sitting right by it. So then he sat there quiet for a little bit, and he started talking. I was quiet. He started talking. He said, people are picking on my friend. Or, I don't know if I could say his name, but anyway.
All right. So, Phoenix, I it's so strange that we are here. So a lot of people will ask, why isn't she suing the school district? Because this lawsuit is against Dr. Parker personally. And it's my understanding that suing the school is part of workers' comp. And so that will be handled as a separate thing. I was also wondering if there was a judgment, and Kurt might be able, I don't know if Kurt would know, but if there was a judgment awarded and could, if somehow it was a system failure, could Dr. Parker then sue the district to take care of the judgment? Like, I don't know. Like, it just seems like this vicious thing because she did not, it's my understanding. The allegation is that she did not follow protocol. What you should immediately do is put the class on lockdown. The police should be called if they don't have a school resource officer. So in Virginia, we have what we call SROs, school resource officers. Not every elementary school has one. She's mentioned a security officer. So my kid's elementary school has, I think it's an unarmed school security officer, but there is a armed deputy within like 2 minutes. Like they could be at our kid's school very, very, very quickly. And so, yeah, so I was wondering if that could be a thing. Like if there was a judgment against Dr. Parker and if she thought the school should pay it, I don't know. Like, I don't know, but y'all know, I'm just over here thinking we're here for the psychology part. And from the mental health side, it seems like Dr. Parker did not think it was a credible threat. But in my personal opinion, it's not her job to judge, is it a credible threat or not? There is a report normally, and she did not herself look in the bag. So she did not search the child. She did not call for somebody to come and do any of those things. She did not call the parent to ask, like, "Hey, there's a report of this. Is that even is that even feasible?" Because then the mom could look in her purse and be like, "Oh, like none of those things happened. Nothing happened." And thankfully, Abby survived. And so after Abby was shot, she cleared she made sure her kids were safe. And I'm not going to play I'm not going to play all of her testimony. A portion of the testimony that I'm going to play is going to be just talking about cuz she's asked questions about things in her class and you could tell how it was difficult for her to answer questions. And I do believe she has PTSD and she'll likely have chronic, lifelong effects of this incident for the rest of her life. She was a teacher. She is never going to be able to be a teacher ever again. Even with EMDR, even with all the things that she could receive. And we are going to play some of the forensic psychiatrist. His testimony was phenomenal. And so we are going to play a little bit of that as well. And then Phoenix mentioned the testimony has been consistent. Multiple teachers went to Parker about the pew pew and she barely acknowledged them. I think she thought they were just being like, oh, God, how could he possibly have that when she didn't even check? And the least you can do is call to say, this is the report that we have. And I think the principal was not in the building that day. I do not believe so she is the AP, the assistant principal. It's my understanding that she was the highest ranking person in the building that day. It was her decision. In the future, if somebody's ever ignored like that, the teacher is probably going to call 911. Like, I don't know what you do. Like, but in schools, sometimes your phone doesn't work. And so I think the same. I think she had become desensitized to this child's behavior and thought that maybe people just couldn't handle him. And Abby was a second year teacher, and this child had severe behavior problems, a one-to-one support. I don't know that Abby was like a special education in most of the places I work, that he would have been on a behavior IEP, and he might have been. I have not followed every moment, but he would have been in a self-contained class with a very, very small number of students. He probably would have been in a therapeutic school. Because of the level of aggression and all that was going on, he probably would have been in a therapeutic school. Like, it was, and my heart breaks for it was Mr. Rawls, the school counselor, because he got emotional when talking about the fact that he asked Dr. Parker to search the student. He had a good relationship with the student, and he asked to search him, and Dr. Parker said no. 1-to-1 means that there's an adult by him at all times. So his mother or father was supposed to be with him in the building at, like, before he was supposed to have a 1-to-1. Like, he was supposed to have an adult with him. I've had other students where the school district has hired a, like, trained behavior aide to be a 1-to-1, and where all day that student has that adult with them, because that's going to help keep them safe in that school. And so yeah, his testimony was very, very powerful. So that was testimony of Mr. Rawls. And yeah. All right. So we are going to get back into the testimony. And this is Miss Kovac. She was a reading specialist at the school. And it was reported to her by 2 girls in his class that they saw the pew pew in his book bag.
Yes, don't say any minor names. Thank you.
So he was picking on my friend R, and I was thinking to myself, ooh, you have a little friend already. But he said people are picking on him. So I told him, I said, well, let me tell you how school works. If R has a problem, he can tell his teacher, he could come tell me, he could go tell anybody. If you have a problem, you can tell me, you can tell Ms. Zwerner, you can tell an adult. And so I said, we have to worry about ourselves. And so he's sitting there, and I said again, do you have a gun in that bag? And he said, no one is getting that bag. And I was like, okay. Then Ms. Zwerner called them to the carpet. He came. I came and sat right next to him. Again, the board is in the front. He sat on the corner here. I sat next to him, and he was facing that bag. And so we did the lesson, and he was still sitting there. And then
for anybody new to the case, this is Dr. Parker. The woman with the blonde hair, that is Abby.
Started telling me, he said, I got new shoes on, red and black Nikes. And I was like, oh, I like those. He said, but I have to go change my shoes at lunchtime because these are new. And I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, okay. So we did the lesson. Ms. Zwerner got up and modeled what they were doing, and she told him what they need. He said, I need scissors and a pencil. I was like, oh, buddy, you're not getting any scissors, because heaven knows what he would do with those. I said the lesson did not require any, scissors. So then I went to Ms. Zwerner.
Yes, and Ms. Kovac, let me just ask, as you're describing this, so at some point you do speak to Ms. Zwerner.
Yes, and right then,
and afterwards. Do you tell her that you're going to go see Dr. Parker?
Yes. Well, what I told her first was, I asked her when recess was. She said in 10 minutes. I said, okay, I'm going to go, and I'll come back in 10 minutes to check the bag. But at that point, as soon as I left, I went and reported to Dr. Parker that the girls had reported to me that there was a possible gun. I went and sat with him. I talked with him. I told her what I had done.
And let me pause you before we get into exactly what you told Dr. Parker. So before you go down to Dr. Parker's office, do you tell Abby that there's a concern about something at this point?
Yes.
And you advise her that you're going to find Dr. Parker and talk to her?
Yes.
Okay. And then do you tell Abby to keep an eye on him until you came back?
Yes.
And a part of the defense, so part of Dr. Parker's defense is going to be that she was busy with testing, and as admin, like that testing was taking up most of her time, But she never left her office. That's my understanding, and that's what's being told to the jury. And we are where we are, and I believe it was protocol to at least call, like there's a report of a weapon at a school. You are supposed to call the police. Or if you have if you have a SRO, if you have somebody on campus, they are supposed to go investigate it. That's just what's supposed to happen. And that did not happen. That should have been the first response. And I don't hold anything against the teachers or anybody else, because in schools, there's a hierarchy, and admin is the one that's supposed to make that call. There's often this flow chart of, okay, it's reported to admin, and then admin is the one that follows procedure and makes the call. And admin, what, in my opinion, my personal thoughts, they should have been the ones to make the call. Oh, okay. So I do want to get into the psychiatrist testimony. Okay. So this is Dr. Y'all know me in names, Clarence Watson. He did a phenomenal job talking about PTSD and the symptoms. And he evaluated Abby at his out-of-state office so he's a forensic psychiatrist. So forensic psychiatrist is a medical doctor that is also trained in the law. And it's my understanding he has his I think he's a lawyer too, which is, so some forensic people also get their JD so that they understand the law. He did a great job on direct and cross-examination. And I thought his testimony was very powerful. I do not know what the jury's going to do, but I thought he did a great job explaining how somebody might be able to go to a concert but still have symptoms of PTSD, because the defense seems, or the Dr. Parker's attorney seems to focus on the fact, oh, well, Abby went to a concert a few months after the incident, or she has the ability to leave the house, but like this has significantly impacted her life. And they're kind of focusing on like, oh, but she did cosmetology school and all of, but it's like, no, but she wanted to be a teacher. Like this is and because of the inaction of your client, she's no longer able to be a teacher. And so like, it wasn't like she just decided to become a cosmetologist. His voice is pretty awesome. Okay. And we are going to listen at normal speed. All right. So he's describing things about trauma.
Your review of the records, has Mrs. Zwerner been diligent in trying to get help for what's happened?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I've been very impressed. She not only has been seeking and continue to seek treatment with her family physician, who she had been receiving treatment. I mean, he was a family physician for a very long time. So.
All right. So I did want to mention, so Abby has a history of anxiety and some mild depression and a history of grief. So those were some things that happened before. She has no history of prior major traumas. So while the loss of her father, so I think her father died in 2020, that likely had a big impact on her. The defense seems to claim that one of the counselor's files of her treatment prior to the incident, because what the defense is trying to do is they don't want to pay for anything. Like if they do have to pay for anything, if she had pre-existing mental health, they don't want to have to pay for anything related to that. But this incident significantly changed what she needs and what she needs moving forward. She currently has 2 therapists that she works with, and she does do EMDR. And y'all know I am recently trained in EMDR, and I'm going to work towards getting certified through EMDRIA. So it's EMDRIA. EMDRIA is one of the international, I think, certification programs. And the clinicians that go through one of their approved programs, I just have more confidence than like if somebody does like a 2-hour online training that isn't intense. So EMDR, there's a lot that goes into it. And so it's eye movement desensitization reprocessing. A lot of therapists use their hands. There are lots of different ways to move the eyes back and forth or to do bilateral brain stimulation. Bilateral just means going from left to right. Because there are some that will use headphones and they can use a tone to use during processing, but he's going to go into that in his testimony, a little bit of that.
Knew her when she was having her earlier depressive symptoms to now, and so continue with that. Also continue with, I want to say the therapists are through Abundant Life Partners, I think is what it is, where she's seen 2 therapists there and has received treatment interventions not only in medication management, but also in what we call cognitive behavioral therapy, a psychotherapy, a counseling intervention, and also in eye movement desensitization reprocessing treatment, right? These are specifically designed to treat individuals with PTSD.
And I don't want to use the word despite, but even with those efforts that she has undergone in the last 2.5 years, when you saw her in July, had her symptoms or were her symptoms still persisting as it relates to post-traumatic stress disorder?
Yes, they were still persisting, yes.
And was she still under medication management at that time?
Yes.
I also forgot to mention he met with Abby it was 4 hours for his first evaluation and then 2 hours over a Teams call, so like a video conference. That was 2 hours this year. And that was just to check in because there had been maybe some changes and things, or just so that he was current with so he could go in to testify about how she's currently functioning. So that's what happened. And I see that Winter mentioned that EMDR was helpful in that. Yeah. I've been able to start doing some processing with a few clients, and get clients prepared to do for processing. And it's been a positive experience. And so, yeah. Some people that I've been working with for a while, just in like 1 or 2 EMDR sessions, were able to make a lot of progress. Something that might have taken us 2 to 3 months to work through, sometimes we're able to work through in like maybe, like just a few sessions. And so, yeah, I like it a lot.
And do you recall what medication management she was under at that time?
I don't recall specifically. I do know that she was receiving a antidepressant medication and an anti-anxiety medication. I'm forgetting which one, along with continuing her psychotherapy.
And I'll ask it this way. Your review and what we've talked about so far, does that establish in your mind and in your opinion the duration requirements for post-traumatic stress disorder?
Yes, it does.
And then tell us what clinically significant distress or impairment refers to.
Yes. So the last the last piece there is important because if a person has all of these symptoms and they don't impact them in their functioning, then it is more difficult for you to say, okay, this is a person who's suffering from a disorder. A disorder requires that there is some impairment of normal functioning. And so the criterion F points to how a person might subjectively experience significant distress to the point that they're having difficulty in their own emotional states day to day. And that might also spill out into very clear, objective loss of functioning in important areas in our life, like work, like socially, family, friends, academically, and such. So we look for an individual to have clinically significant impairment in those areas.
And when we talk about clinically significant impairment, sometimes folks think of being numb to experiences. Have you ever heard that phrase?
Yes.
And can you tell us whether that is something that Ms. Zwerner expressed to you and what significance that has clinically?
Yes, there are times where, associated with PTSD, a person can experience psychological numbness during times when they should really feel something, right? So some folks would think that's counterintuitive, but actually it is a defense mechanism in a sense where a person's emotional state, where it has been riding high for so long because you feel like you're in danger. In order to try to control to some degree, you have to be able to feel numb as a protective mechanism, right? So that happens sometimes. Now, this experience causes some confusion for individuals who have it, right? They don't understand why they are feeling nothing right now in a particular situation. And then there are other times where they're feeling too much and they don't want to feel too much. They don't want to feel afraid. They want to be able to go to the grocery store and not to take someone with them, those sort of things. So it could be very confusing. This is why, psychotherapy becomes important to help folks process this mental health disorder.
And as a clinician, when somebody's reporting, and we've talked about some different topics here, like being disassociated or feeling nothing, how does that appear from a clinician standpoint, and how does that differ potentially from what an average person may expect?
Sure. As a clinician, if I'm sitting with someone who is experiencing that, I'm looking for emotional flattening, right? I'm looking for the lack of expression, a lack of response, a disconnect as I'm speaking with an individual about something that might be, you would expect to elicit some sort of emotional response to, right? You can think of it as a person who has been abused for many, many years, and then they see a violent act, and then they don't even react, right? And the rest of us will say, hey, well, what's going on? We need to move. But that person who has been abused chronically, they don't react in the same way. They don't view violence in the same way. There's a numbing to things, and that's abnormal.
And there he's giving a generalization, so everybody might not experience that, but he's describing what that is. So, Amanda, this is a great question. Do I have any opinion on the civil trial proceeding before the criminal trial? So, I believe Abby wanted to sue the school district. And at some point, the school district, I think it was the judge, somebody determined that she was not able, that the school district lawsuit has to be covered through workers' comp. So I think there were like multiple people included in this, and the only one that was able to proceed was the one against Ebony Parker. That's my understanding looking in. I do not know when the school district was dropped. So I don't know when that happened. I'm sure her team has discussed the benefits or the risk of both. The biggest thing, it kind of puts Dr. Parker in a spot where she's not going to be able to tell her side. She's not going to be able to say anything at all. And I don't know what the jury is going to do with that. She will present some evidence. So I think that the defense side does have a few witnesses. And a Monday, I think they are trying to call some people, but it might be going to the jury on Monday. But we'll see. Okay. All right. I hope that's helpful. All right. Let's keep his testimony going.
And we've talked about these clinically significant findings or distress and impairment. Where, if anywhere, within the PTSD evaluation does suicidal ideation come into the play? And
Okay, so I'm gonna skip a little bit of that. So after this incident, and Abby is gonna talk from her own perspective that she did have when this incident happened, she thought she was deceased and that she had this kind of disconnect. She still has fragments of the bullet, so the bullet is still in her. It's in a part of her chest that they're not able to operate to get it out. The pew pew, the bullet went through her hand, and it's here, and she has permanent scars from that. And this witness, I gave him a bad pause. I'm sorry, doctor. Okay, there we go. That's a much better pause. He did a great job talking about how every time she looks at her hand, every time she has any difficulty, that is what comes up. Somebody asked, I wonder how the school is doing now. So there have been, so some people don't work at that particular school anymore. So I believe Mr. Rawls, I think he might work in a different district now. And I believe the principal was fired. I want to say the principal was, or reassigned. I think admin changed at that school, and Dr. Parker she did not return to work after this incident, and there was a major restructuring. I think so. My uncle, I didn't mention this yet. My uncle is a retired middle school teacher in Newport News schools, and so he knew like some people, or like he heard some chatter. I won't share anything that he heard, but in general, I think the teachers are on Abby's side, because admin should have called it in as soon as the report of a weapon came in. And there have probably been a lot of training. There was probably a lot that went in, because this puts the district because imagine if it could have been one of the other kids. It could have been anyone. A 6-year-old had a loaded pew pew, and people knew, and it was hours before anybody did anything. So now Miss Kovac tried to search his bag, but at that point, somebody said they saw him put something in his pocket. And it's my understanding that Dr. Parker said something to the effect of, how big are 6-year-olds' pockets? She said something like that. Like, she seemed to minimize it. And I think that's a problem. And so I hope that people understand, and that they will take these things seriously. Seriously. And so, yeah. All right. She really had a great team. And so I think the way that they are trying to help people feel safe is there was a change. And I think there was, because so Newport News schools, they have a union. So if any teachers are involved in that union, like, there are conversations that I'm sure were had, and I'm sure the teachers spoke up about and the parents, because imagine so the children in the room saw him do this. So we're talking about the trauma to Abby. Imagine those other first graders. So my son's class has like 22, 23 students in it. My child, just the other day, he said a kid was upset and like started like pushing people or something. They cleared the classroom. They made sure the student was being safe. My child thought somebody might have gotten hurt or something, but the school appropriately like responded to everything. But parents lose confidence in a school if they don't think things are being handled properly. And so, yeah. No, so she's currently facing criminal charges. Let me look up what those charges are, because I think Dr. Ebony Parker, I don't know exactly what they are. But she's going to have she has a criminal court case that's going to happen. And because of the civil one, most of the news stories that come up are about the other one. Let me see. Yeah. So I cannot find. Okay, there we go. There we go. Let me see the criminal charges. Yeah, because she has criminal and civil cases persisting. Let me see. She's been charged with 8 counts of felony child harm, 1 count for each of the 8 the things that were in the pew pew. Okay, so 1 count for each of the that were in the pew pew. We're probably already lost monetization for this video, but it's okay. I'm trying. And disregard in life in connection to the shooting. That's what she's been charged with. Only 1 shot was fired. And that was the one that was shot at Miss Parker. Okay. No, not Miss Parker, Miss Werner. Me and names. It was the one that was at Miss Werner. Okay. So she cannot work with children. She's probably, yeah, she's not working with children. And because this is the civil case, and often the evidence for civil is normally a lower threshold than criminal. Criminal is normally like above a reasonable doubt, and she was told there was a pew and she did not do anything. She personally, and she was the admin. And in my personal thoughts, it was her job to do something. And so, all right. Okay. So that was his testimony. Abigail's twin sister testified, and that testimony was like, it was because before this, Abby was very bubbly. She was outgoing. She was social. She loved to be out. Her twin sister is actually the one that's more likes to be at home with a good book. And since then, Abby struggles to leave the house. If they're at an event that has balloons, we call it hypervigilant. She can't see things that have pews in it. They wanted to go see a movie. They wanted to see, was it Hamilton? I think it was Hamilton. But she was worried just seeing a weapon that she was not going to be okay. And so she was unable to see that. And I do believe that this has had a significant impact, and it will continue to have a significant impact on her life. I've never met her, so I'm just saying this based on publicly available information. That's my disclaimer. Okay. Let's go ahead and get to just a little bit of Abby's testimony. Okay. And so this is a clip, and I am not going to get to the part where she talks about the incident. Okay. So I just want y'all to see how she's responding to questions.
Ms. Zwerner,
Sorry, that's a little loud on my end. If it comes in, let me know if I need to adjust the volume. Okay. Let me know if I need to adjust the volume.
a few questions so that we can make sure the jury understands the whole picture. You've been working as a teacher for a few years at the time of the incident, is that correct?
Yes.
And you had a number of children in your class with some academic issues?
Yes.
You had some children in your class with behavioral issues, is that correct?
I faintly remember.
And when you were dealing with student misbehavior, you would start by talking with the student, is that correct?
Most likely, yes.
And if you need...
All right. So I just wanted to show just how she was responding to some of the questions, because you can say, you can just see how being up there on the stand, it's likely causing a lot of anxiety. Okay. And for anybody that doesn't know why I use certain words, so YouTube does not like certain words. Even though I'm a psychologist, I should be able to even use the word, I should be able to use mental health terms accurately. YouTube they'll determine something's not ad friendly if you use too many of certain words. Okay. There are some shows that I'm sure they have I don't know, like they probably have a YouTube partner that they work with to make sure they can do things. But yeah. She definitely looks checked out. And so so this is the teacher from the incident, and she is coping. She's trying to answer questions in this case, and she has PTSD. Okay. She's been diagnosed with PTSD, and the way that she's responding to me is classic PTSD. Okay. I'm just going to play a little bit more.
Needed help, you would ask for guidance or coworkers or administrators to help. Is that correct?
Yes.
You would go to Dr. Parker at times, correct?
At times.
You would email her, true?
Yes.
You'd walk in her office.
Yes.
This is also cross-examination. Okay. So that's the other important thing to notice, that this is cross-examination. So she's prepared for the questions her lawyer has. This is cross-examination. This is the plaintiff's lawyer, or not the other side, the defendant's lawyer. Okay. She is the plaintiff.
And if necessary, we get the guidance counselor to take the student to Dr. Parker's office.
At times.
And Ms. West was another first grade teacher. She was across the hall from you, correct?
Mm-hmm. She was.
Lead first grade teacher. Sometimes go over there if you needed to speak with her.
Mm-hmm.
You had a phone in your room?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And you could call a parent on the phone in your room?
I don't think I've called a parent during the day.
But you could if you needed to.
Yes. Yes, I had a classroom phone.
And you could call the office.
Yes.
Mr. Coleman, can you please show to the witness and counsel Exhibit 90A? Yes, sorry, Defense 90A.
That is plaintiff's 90A, is that correct?
Yes.
All right.
No. She said defense 98 to me and then plaintiff to you, so I just want the record to be clear.
Oh, Defense 90A.
All right. Is that in evidence?
Not yet.
Okay.
All right. And so the important part that I wanted to show from that was the fact that, to me, there are signs of PTSD that can't be faked. Like I have worked with many individuals diagnosed with trauma, and even years after this incident, it is still difficult for her to answer questions. And the defense brought up things like she did a TV interview and she did this and she did that. I don't think it was like a live TV interview, so they can cut things out and they can put things together in a way where it looks good. So I don't know what the unedited version of that TV interview looks like, because when you do any type of pre-recorded interview, you can go back and edit things so that it just has a certain look, or so that it people can ask you to say something again. You can kind of play with it a little bit if you need to. She was also sitting beside, for one of the interviews I saw, she was sitting beside family. She had her sister, and I think her mother was sitting beside her, and that likely helped her feel safer, and she was able to talk through it. I see a comment. Oh, okay. I did not finish the lawyer you know's testimony. I'm sorry, coverage of her testimony. To me, I do think that she does look traumatized. I do think that she did. And then also, I think she's had good treatment. So I think if she was giving this testimony 30 days after the incident, she probably wouldn't have been able to say some of the things, because it just would have been so overwhelming, or she would have been completely numb and checked out and completely dissociating. And so she did look traumatized to me. That's just how I see it. And attorneys are different, and some, I don't know, but so y'all know I'm a psychologist. I look at this from a psychological perspective, and I'll continue to follow this one and see what happens with it. I did also see that the taking care of Maya verdict, that the award that the jury gave, that was overturned. I have some old coverage. Oh, if you probably type "Take Care of Maya," Dr. Patrice Berry, one or two of my old videos would probably pop up in YouTube. I'm going to keep an eye to see if they do try everything again, because it's my understanding they have to start over from scratch. There are a ton of witnesses. That case took a really long time to try. And I wonder what would happen if they get a chance to try it again. I don't know what would happen, but I'll definitely keep an eye on it if they do try the taking care of Maya case again, Maya Kowalski. Okay. Yeah, I saw that for her case that a few of the charges were dropped. based on was it Supreme Court? It was like a higher court. I think it was the Florida Supreme Courts. I believe it was Supreme Court. It was their understanding. Kurt did a video. I know Lawyer did a video on that one, but yeah. Or no, I haven't seen Peter do a video on that one yet. I could be wrong. I don't know. But I know Kurt did. I watched his video on it. Yeah, somebody thinks that they probably wouldn't win a second time. I don't know. And I don't know if they would handle things differently, if they would ask different questions. I don't know. Karen, I agree. And that's where some of the jurors might have some empathy for Miss Parker to say, how could she have known? But there were reports that somebody, even if it was a toy. So at our school, you can't bring a toy pew-pew to school. A kid can get suspended for just making a finger one. Like that's Virginia's weird about that stuff. So I haven't seen the video from this morning yet. I haven't seen that yet. So I think the authorities should have been called, and I think that's their protocol. And my personal thought is that she broke protocol because it's my understanding she wanted the mother to come to the school to search him, or for the mother to just pick him up and take him home. But if a 6-year-old has a weapon, that would likely be a call to CPS as like, that would prompt some type of investigation. I would think you would have to look into that a little. Something. You wouldn't just let the child go home. It doesn't make any sense to me. The police should have been called. There is a weapon on campus. The child brought it with the intention of unaliving his teacher, because it's my understanding directly after the incident, I think he asked like, is that bee dead? Or I don't know. Like he made some really, according to, I think, Miss Kovac, he made a statement immediately following that was very troubling. And so, I wish Abby all the best as she continues to heal. I do hope that this case has opened people's eyes and that any type of threat will be handled appropriately, and that people will know if you don't handle something appropriately, that you can be held personally liable. So I don't think Dr. Parker ever thought that she would be held personally liable, because she's probably having to pay for that lawyer. So civil trial, you don't get a free lawyer. I don't know if assistant principals, I don't know if they have liability insurance. Do assistant principals have liability insurance, Virginia? Okay. So sometimes they're covered by professional liability insurance. So she might have liability insurance, and it might be, so I don't know that for sure. They're not saying if there is or if there's not. I know medical professionals have to have liability insurance, and if you're a counselor and you work for an agency that has liability insurance, I encourage people to still get their own individual liability insurance, because the agency insurance, it protects the agency, not you. So you want insurance that's going to protect you. And so, all right. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day. These were some heavy cases today, so please drink your water. Y'all have seen me. It's something called Nido, and this is like a textured gumball one. This is not sponsored. I get nothing for saying this. I just absolutely love it. I also went to our grocery store, and this is called a fidget blocks. I love this thing. Like, you just squeeze it, and this is kind of loud. You wouldn't want to use this at school or anywhere where, like, it would cause a problem. Some people, especially people on the autism spectrum, don't like the textured one. They prefer the soft Nido. And so I absolutely love this stuff. Take care of yourself. Be kind. And I will see you all next time. I hope you all have a good one. Bye.